I'm Bishop Allyson Abrams. Welcome to the Bishop Allyson Abrams Show, where I believe truth empowers. Each week, I will bring topics to you that I believe you should be made aware of. I will give you my professional opinion on the topics and probably some necessary suggestions too. We will talk politics. We will talk religion. We will talk real estate, health, and education. I have some great topics to share with you on today, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
I got pregnant, and I was the main one working, so I did what I had to do to survive.
Sentía que la escuela no era para mí.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier.
My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person.
Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off.
Sentí como que si quiero cambiar el mundo, tengo que cambiar a mí primero.
I could not have gotten my diploma without my family.
Mi consejera, ella fue lo máximo para mí porque me ayudó mucho con todo.
I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
Yeah, it's hard, but keep on going and keep on trying.
The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Historically black colleges and universities, better known as HBCUs. Where did they come from? Why are they important? How many are still around on today? Here at the Bishop Allyson Abrams Show, we want to share that information with you. I believe that many people have forgotten about some of the HBCUs and have forgotten about some of the history of those colleges and universities. And so we want to share that with you on today. First and foremost, HBCUs were established before 1964 with the intention of serving the African American community. And so any of you who've gone to an HBCU, I attended a historically black college and university by the name of Howard University. Somebody's saying HU, and I'm going to say you know. But anybody who's attended those universities know that they have been around a long time. And so they were established before 1964. Also, historically black colleges and universities significantly contribute to the creation of the African American science degree holders. And so those people who have the degree of agriculture, biology, computer science, physical science, and social science, many of them got those degrees from HBCUs. Most HBCUs were established after the American Civil War, however, often with the assistance of Northern religious missionary organizations. And so you have them before 1964, but after the American Civil War. And so when we look at some of the other universities, there are always exceptions. Cheyney University of Pennsylvania was established in 1837. Lincoln University in Pennsylvania was established in 1854. And Wilberforce University was established in 1856, before the American Civil War. Some of you remember that I may have talked about that I did my master's degree in Ohio, in Dayton, Ohio, and I had a few opportunities to visit Wilberforce University, and did not know it was established in 1856. So wow, what a great history and legacy Wilberforce University has. And so there is one that was established immediately after the American Civil War. Shaw University was established in 1865, making it the first HBCU in the South to be established after the American Civil War. I know we have some graduates in this area from Shaw University. We have some people who have done master's and doctor's degrees at Shaw University. We even have some friends from DC area who have gone down to teach and serve at Shaw University. So that was the first HBCU in the South that was established after the American Civil War. Now, the first HBCU owned and operated by African Americans was none other than Wilberforce University in Ohio, and as I stated, it was founded in 1856. Wilberforce was named for William Wilberforce, who first led efforts to abolish slavery. And so once again, I know we have some people in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area who graduated from Wilberforce University. What a tremendous history and legacy Wilberforce has. Now, when you look at graduation rates, we know that Bishop Abrams talked about graduation from high school rates some shows ago, and I talked about the rates all across the country. But when you look at graduation rates of HBCUs, the numbers are declining. Now, as I stated, HBCUs were created and established for the purpose of educating African Americans. However, African Americans are starting to go to other universities and colleges that are not HBCUs, and so therefore the graduation rate at the HBCUs, those numbers are falling. And so when we look at about 2 years ago, the average graduation rate at a 4-year HBCU was around 59%. And so those at non-HBCUs was at 70%. So our numbers are declining. Now, y'all know Bishop Abrams is always going to give you her personal opinion. I would say that you all need to send your young people to some of these HBCUs to get their undergraduate degrees. Now, I am an advocate that you need to get different degrees from different institutions. And so for your master's degree, doctor's degree, you may want to go to some other institutions. But please remember to support our HBCUs. And the way to do that is by sending your young person to an HBCU. My youngest daughter recently graduated from my alma mater, which is Howard University, which is an HBCU. And so I believe that I've made my contribution. The other two did not want to attend an HBCU, but I did get one to attend. And so you have to talk to your children, take them to the schools, to the HBCUs, let them go on those college tours, and let them visit some of the universities, let them spend the weekend at some of the universities, and make their decision as to if this is a place they want to go. Now, I can hear some of the parents already saying, well, I need them to get a scholarship, and the scholarship money came from the other school. Okay, I understand that, and that is important. However, let them test and see if they're able to get a scholarship from one of the HBCUs. The HBCUs are still giving scholarships on today, and so it is important to at least put that on the list of schools to consider for our young people on today. Now, there are 106 HBCUs today in the United States, including private and public institutions, including community and four-year institutions, also including medical and law schools. So there are 106 schools that you can choose from or help your young person to choose from to attend to say that they were educated at a historically black college and university. 9 of the top 10 colleges that graduate most of the African American students in our country today who go on to earn PhDs graduate from HBCUs. And hey, I'm glad to say that I do have an earned doctorate as well as an earned master's degree, and I did do my foundational work at an HBCU. White abolitionists who had wealth and political and military ties created some of the HBCUs. And I did learn that when I was at Howard University. I must admit I was very shocked to hear that, but I was glad to know that there were some persons who were against slavery that were non-African Americans, and they were willing to work with the African Americans to help establish HBCUs. Even though they were established to educate African Americans, it doesn't mean that African Americans had to establish those institutions. So we're always glad to see support from non-African Americans of those institutions. And so let me give you some examples. People like General O.O. Howard, Clinton B. Fisk, y'all recognize the names, Henry Martin Tupper, who founded Shaw University, and others worked with the Freedmen Bureau to create educational institutions for people of color, for African American people. The majority of HBCUs are endangered. Morris Brown College in Atlanta lost its accreditation in 2002. And so some of you may remember Morris Brown College. Growing up in the South, naturally, I remember Morris Brown, and they had some wonderful programs there at Morris Brown. When I was in Alabama in high school, Morris Brown College always sent their choir to come and sing in Birmingham. And so I know some of our students actually did go to Morris Brown. However, they lost their accreditation in 2002. St. Paul's College in Lawrenceville, Virginia closed its doors in 2013. Barbara Scotia College in Concord, North Carolina, all the North Carolinians that live here, lost its accreditation from SACS in 2004, and just recently announced that it will not be opening for spring 2016. That was a year ago. They would not be opening during that time. Wilberforce University, we talked about Wilberforce. They have received their full accreditation now, and so at some point they were not accredited, but they have received their full accreditation back as of fall 2015. More than 50% of the nation's African-American public school teachers and 70% of African-American dentists earned their degrees at HBCUs. Now, my godfather is a dentist. He's a dentist in Maryland, and he always talked about going to Howard Dental School. And when I lived in Michigan, when I first began to serve on the school board and began to meet some of the people who were in our community in Oak Park, I met a dentist there who also was a graduate of Howard Dental School. And I remember a short while I was in Ohio working on my master's degree, met a dentist there who had gone to Howard Dental School. So I began to say, has everybody in the country gone to Howard Dental School? And so that let me know that we had an excellent dental school at Howard University. And so that is great to know that such a high percentage of the dentists graduate from HBCUs. And many of the doctors that I met over the years went to Meharry Medical School and went to Howard Medical School. And so, you know, we do produce some great professionals at HBCU. So once again, I am saying all of this because I want you to consider having your student or having your adult to attend an HBCU. Spelman Bennett College produced over half the nation's African-American women who go on to earn doctorate degrees in science fields. And so my very good friend from high school did go to Spelman, and I do have some other friends who went to Spelman University also. I believe it was Spelman College back then, and so it's good to know that they have produced such great women. Now there's a push by policymakers and legislators to shut down HBCUs as they argue the relevance of these institutions. And so that's why I'm saying we have to begin to send our young people, even though they have many options of schools that they can go to, they can attend, people are offering them money, still we have to support our historically black colleges and universities. And so they were designed to educate our young people. And so let us begin to send, if it's not one, send 2 or 3 of your children to these institutions on today. And begin to call your legislators, begin to call your senators, your congressmen, and make sure that they know that these institutions are still very relevant on today, and we need funding to still go to these institutions, and we do not want to see these institutions shut down on today. And so Bishop Abrams is telling you to call your congressperson, to call your senator, call your state rep, call everybody you can think of who will be a voice for the historically black colleges and universities on today. Over half of all African-American professionals graduated from HBCUs. One of the things that I love to do when I first graduated from Howard University, as well as even on today, is when I meet people and find out that there are different professions, well, what undergraduate college did you go to? What university did you attend? And so almost everybody says that they went to an HBCU. And so that was back during my day. People who are almost 50 and over 50 on today did attend HBCUs, but a lot of the younger people, the millennials on today, don't have that testimony. And so at some point, if they did not do an HBCU for their undergraduate degree, I would suggest that they go to an HBCU for medical school, go to an HBCU for dental school, go to an HBCU for their PhD, because it is important to get that experience and to know the things that the HBCU teaches that other schools are not going to pour into you. So I believe that it's very important to attend those HBCUs on today. Lack of funding has forced HBCUs to cut costs, to eliminate programs, and sell valuable resources, sadly making these institutions less attractive to incoming students. And I can say that we have watched that happen to Howard University over the years. Especially if they've changed presidents, they've changed leadership, they've changed board members, but they are not receiving the funds that they should be receiving from the federal government on today. And we know that with this administration, with the Trump administration, they're still cutting funds to colleges and universities on today. And so we as a people have got to speak out and let our Congress people know that you cannot approve the budget that cuts funds to colleges and universities, especially HBCUs on today. And so when we don't speak out, when we don't vote, let me go there, when you don't vote to get a person who is conscious about education and who is conscious about the need for education budget to be increased versus being decreased, then that's why we have funding being cut to our historically black colleges and universities, and they're losing programs and losing the ability to still be able to attract students. And so we first of all have got to vote for people who are conscious and people who have a moral and people who understand the importance of education. And then once we vote those people in, then we got to hold them accountable to what they are allowing to be passed on the floor of the House of the Senate, and then what they are supporting with what this administration wants to do when it comes to education and the budget. And so we still have to use our voices, and we still have to use our power in the voting booth and on the ballot. All right, so we cannot forget those things, but we cannot allow our HBCUs to continue to lose funding, and we cannot allow our HBCUs to no longer have programs that they're able to offer that will attract students to come to those different institutions. And so we as graduates, we as people in the community, we as people who are educated must become advocates for HBCUs on today. And so we're going to take a small break here, and we will be right back.
We just finished dinner and it was time for homework. He hates homework.
It makes no sense.
I don't know how he finds anything in his backpack.
I can't find my backpack.
Finally, we found his assignment. He rushed through it. I wonder if he even learned anything.
I wasn't gonna get it right, so I just wanted to get back to playing my video game. At least I'm good at that.
I couldn't even read his handwriting.
Holding the pencil makes my hand hurt.
I know he's bright.
Why is it so hard for me?
He's
I'm
just
trying
gotta
as
try a
hard
little
as
harder.
I can.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free online resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Here you'll get personalized recommendations, practical tips, daily access to experts, and more. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org.
We're still talking about HBCUs on today. In the days of Jim Crow, Black students typically only had one choice when seeking higher education, and that was to attend an HBCU. And so during that time, even the decades following the Civil Rights Movement, 80% of African Americans opted to attend an HBCU. However, as we see in 2017, those numbers have drastically fallen since the 80s. And so we want to make sure that we are sending our students to HBCUs to help to keep those institutions open and help to keep those programs going and funding coming in for those colleges and universities. James Weldon Johnson, I know you all know who James Weldon Johnson is. James Weldon Johnson, I'm so glad to say, graduated from an HBCU, Atlanta University, and wrote the words to the famous "Lift Every Voice and Sing." And so the other week when I was at Howard University's graduation, where my youngest daughter did graduate, we so proudly sang "Lift Every Voice and Sing." And so I believe most HBCUs at the graduation, at the commencement ceremony, they do sing that song, "Lift Every Voice and Sing." And I will add, James Weldon Johnson was a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. And so we know that HBCUs is where the sororities and fraternities were established. And so I have to say that the Divine Nine is still going and still growing on today. However, the Divine Nine has expanded to other universities and colleges and campuses that are not HBCU schools. However, they are still on those universities, still giving those African American students that are attending those schools an opportunity to become a part of those sororities and fraternities. And so I do want to name them on today. And of course, I'm going to start with my own sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And then we do have Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. We do have Zeta Phi Beta Sorority. We do have Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority. We have Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We have Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity. We have Omega Psi Phi Fraternity. And we have Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity. And so those are the Divine Nine. Hopefully I didn't forget one. But anyway, those are the Divine Nine. And we are so grateful for their history and their legacy with the HBCUs on today. And so many people have had the wonderful benefit of joining a sorority or fraternity on today by being at an historically black college and university. Now, there are 4 HBCU medical schools, and those medical schools are Meharry Medical College, that is in Tennessee, Morehouse School of Medicine in Georgia, Atlanta, Charles Drew School of Medicine and Science in California, and one of the greatest institutions on the planet, Howard University School of Medicine, located in Washington, D.C. And so once again, I'm going to say HU, and somebody's going to say you know. Xavier University of Louisiana is #1 nationally in placing African Americans into medical school. And so one of my very good friends as a young person, we attended church together, and our mothers were members of Delta Sigma Theta sorority together. She did attend Xavier and then later went on to Meharry Medical School. And so I do know from personal experience that Xavier, yes, does help students to get into medical schools. Howard University, I am so glad to say, is #1 in graduating PhDs. Now let me say, in 2017, At the commencement, Howard University had its largest number of PhDs to ever graduate in the history of the institution. Howard University in 2017 graduated 105 PhDs. Kudos to Howard University, the best university, let me say, in the world, Howard University. And so kudos to Howard University for graduating so many PhDs. It is very difficult. It's a lot of work, I tell you, to earn a PhD. And so we are so glad and so proud to see all of those people who walked across the stage at the commencement for 2017 for Howard University. Now, there are over 100 HBCUs in the United States, and they are located within 20 states as well as the District of Columbia. So when you look at HBCUs, if you don't want to leave your state, you may be able to stay in your state and still attend a historically black college. So HBCUs are located in Alabama, in Arkansas, in California, in Delaware, in Washington, D.C., or the District of Columbia. They're located in Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, in Maryland, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, West Virginia, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. So you can find an HBCU near you. I always encourage people to see what programs and what degrees they're offering that lines up with what it is that you want to do, what career path you've decided to be on, and see if you could be accepted into that HBCU program and be able to complete your work at an HBCU, and you can go on to whatever master's and doctor's program you decide to do. Now, HBCUs have over 10.2 billion positive impact on this nation's economy. So don't discount the HBCUs. Don't forget about the historically black colleges. We want to continue to send our best and brightest to the HBCUs on today. HBCUs are still, as you hear, putting out dentists, still putting out doctors, still putting out scientists, putting out PhDs, and we don't want to forget that some of the HBCUs do have law programs. And so I encourage you today to support the HBCUs and to speak up and be a voice and let Congress know we will not shut down the HBCUs, and we will not rest until the money is put back in the budget for the HBCUs as well as for universities and colleges and schools all across the land. Don't forget, HBCUs have been a foundation in our community, in our family, in our history, and we want to continue to allow the HBCUs to thrive and continue to train and shape and form our best and our brightest on today. Well, looks like it's that time again. I want to thank you for always tuning in to the Bishop Allyson Abrams Show, where we are committed to discussing new and exciting topics that are sure to stir your soul. The Bishop Allyson Abrams Show is the place where you can hear trending topics and honest opinion. We discussed some great topics today. I do hope you were moved by what you heard. Tune in each week to our show. And remember, truth empowers.